That's Enough Out of You podcast is sponsored by Todd John's Law. Unfortunately, bad things happen to good people, whether it's the result of an auto accident caused by the carelessness of another driver or being charged with a crime. Dealing with the aftermath of a personal injury accident or being involved with the criminal justice system can be extremely difficult. That's why, whatever you're facing, you should never go it alone. You need an experienced attorney who will stand by you every step of the way. Todd is experienced, licensed, trusted, respected, and guaranteed. No one will work harder or more diligently on your behalf, and he will personally handle your case from beginning to end. Located on Drinker Street in Dunmore, Pennsylvania, Todd has been representing the legal rights of Scranton and Wilkes-Barre personal injury victims and those accused of a crime for over 20 years. At Todd John's Law, the utmost priority is ensuring that your rights are always protected and that your case is resolved as quickly and fairly as possible so that you can move on with your life. Call Todd John's Law at 570-876-6903. With Todd John's Law, you will receive equal justice under the law. All right, hey, welcome to That's Enough Out of You, like Bruce the Torres says. That's enough out of you. I am your host, Bill Rader, and my co-host is joining me as well, Sean Kane. Sean, what's going on?
Billy Grades, what's happening today, buddy?
I am I'm feeling better after my second go-around with COVID. That was fun.
Yeah, glad to see you're better, buddy. You sound a lot better, I'll tell you that.
Well, yeah, hell, I could barely talk for a couple of days. I'm glad we didn't. We had one podcast we were supposed to do that we ended up postponing, and it's a good thing because I don't think I could have gotten through it. But yeah, better now, and hopefully it stays away from everybody else in my house. We certainly don't need that hanging around.
No, definitely not.
How's everything going with you?
Just busy, Billy. You know what I mean? Everything is going good, though, pal.
Yeah.
We're ready to rock and roll tonight, buddy, because this is a fun episode. These question episodes, a lot of great feedback. Even the negative questions, we love them. But some of them are really, really smart listeners that we have, and they ask some really good questions. So yeah, this is going to be a fun show, But first, let's talk about some of the promotions, Billy, that we got going on to help us out.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Well, the one thing, Billy, we're on Patreon. Anybody that wants to help us there, they could help us there. But also Buzzsprout, which is basically all the podcast applications except for YouTube, Apple, Spotify, all of them are on there. I put up the link today on social media. You could just contribute there. I believe you could get the link from any of those podcasts, like if you're listening on Apple or Spotify. Right. And you could just contribute what you want, whatever you can to help us, because it really helps us. And we got a merch store. We got a book club. Anybody interested in the authors that we had on or the topics we discussed could order through our book club. And all of this helps us, Billy. And hitting subscribe on the YouTube channel. I mean, all that helps in sharing our podcast, spreading the word, getting us more listeners. Advertisers and sponsors. I mean, all of this helps, Billy, and we want to, continue the show. We want to make the show great, but we need some more help from our listeners.
Yeah, absolutely. Whatever you guys can do to help us out. Again, it's not, it doesn't have to be a ton of money. I mean, if you can give, if you can spare like $1 a month or whatever, it gets you in the door. And once we start getting a pretty good a good base with our Patreon, we're gonna do a little bit more with it. Right now, we certainly appreciate the Patreons we have, and thank you guys so much for signing up and for contributing. And I think, like I said, Sean, once we get a little bit of a base there in our Patreon, we're going to start doing some exclusive things with Patreon.
Right. We'll do premium stuff. Right.
Yeah, some shows that'll be exclusive to Patreon and some giveaways and things like that. So keep an eye out for that. Yeah, and it's just and then our bookstore, Sean. What we've been talking a lot lately about chokeholds, right?
Right. And you could get that book on there. The Dave Whelan book, Mind Games, it's not in the inventory yet. I'm trying to add that. We've had some other requests for Martin Luther King book that just came out. I'm trying to get that added. So if they're not in our inventory, in the book club inventory, I reach out to customer service and get it added. So any requests, just let me know. But Chokeholds is up there.
Yep.
We sold a few already. So that it's a great book. I recommend it to everybody. It's fantastic.
Absolutely. And what about Monica Wiesek's book? Do we have that up there?
Oh yeah, Monica's book is up there. Monica's book is up there. Lisa Peace, her books are up there. Jim Diogenio's books are up there. JFK Revisited from the Oliver Stone documentary. The book is up there. David Talbot's book, Devil's Chessboard, is up there. His other book, Brothers, is up there. Dr. Paul Grain's book is up there. Don McGovern's books are there. Marilyn Monroe. So basically, most of the authors that we had on, Bill, they're up there. And a lot of the topics we talked about, there's D.B. Cooper books up there that I recommend that I've read. There's a lot of mob books, discussions that we had on the mob. The Westies and Whitey Bulger and the Gambino family. And there's a lot of books up there with the mob. The new one with Billy D'Elia, that's up on our store. So you can get all those books, buddy. They're available.
So, I mean, these are books, these are books you guys, if you're listening to this podcast, chances are you're going to buy these books anyway. So you might as well buy them.
And instead of going it through Amazon, we get a little piece. It helps us out, but it also goes to local bookstores, Bill, which are dying, Bill. Yep. Local bookstores are dying, and they need help. And this funding, from this bookshop, it helps them out.
Exactly. All right. How about we get into some of these questions and comments?
Fire away, Billy.
All right. The first one comes from, I'm gonna kill this last name. Jack Lamboris. I think that's how you say Jack.
I would say Lamboris, yeah.
All right. Well, I apologize if it's not right. All right. So Jack writes, Sean, no conspiracy with JFK. Some nut shot a stand-in for JFK. He did not die in Dallas. Why do you think they dragged the lookalike body out of Parkland so it would not be identified as JFK? So I don't think this comment is no. Listen, when you say stand-in, Jack, do you mean like one of those like cardboard cutouts? Is that what is that what he thinks?
I think he means a doppelganger, Bill.
Some guy decided they said, we're going to dress you up like JFK. We're going to blow off your head in the limo. You all right with that? You guys, that's good. That's good.
Well, Bill, I'm glad you read this question because now, welcome to my world, because I get about 5 of these messages a day similar to this, and these kind of stuff about these theories like this, and then we're considered a conspiracy show, Bill, but we debunk a lot of this garbage,
this isn't even come on.
No, that's not even I don't even
made this up. Well, Jack, we love you, buddy. We thank you for listening, but come on, you just made this up.
Maybe he believes it, Billy. I don't know.
It's fine. He can believe what he wants, but you could believe that money grows on trees if you want to, but
well, you started with a bang, Billy, but I don't think we need to really comment on that one, do we? I think we can just get on to the next one, All
right. This comes from Giordano in Rome. Did you guys watch the documentary JFK, What the Doctor Saw? Yes, we did. If so, what are your thoughts? It was great. I loved it.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fantastic, Billy.
It's I mean, what I said, Sean, when I was watching it and I was texting you, I was crying. It was so moving, and the crazy thing is now that these documentaries are starting to be shown on, main network. I mean, Paramount Plus is a CBS network. It's a CBS. Right. So they're starting now to admit,
right?
that, there was a conspiracy.
And Rob Reiner has a podcast out, a series, where he's saying it was a conspiracy. And, Jim DiGenio talked about that when we had him on.
Yeah.
So it's starting to slowly, get into the mainstream media. And this was a fantastic documentary. Anybody that haven't seen it, get out and view it, because it was really good. The doctors, and you saw the raw passion, Billy, from the doctors.
Yeah.
I mean, they still feel it 60 years later, Billy.
Sure. And honestly, and I saw on YouTube, somewhere on YouTube, there's an interview with some of these doctors who were in this documentary, who did an interview in the 70s and said a lot of stuff. And, well, go ahead.
The interesting thing, Billy, is this: when they filmed them, all of them sitting around talking, that was actually done in, I believe, 2013.
Yeah.
So they waited until now to put this out. So I wonder the reason for waiting. Was there somebody that was still alive that they didn't want to broadcast this when they were still alive that recently died? I mean, I don't know, but wait 10 years after you have this, or did it just take that long to get it into the mainstream?
It may have taken this long to make it. Documentaries are not really well funded, Sean. It takes
I know
time to get them made. So yeah, I don't know, but I recommend it wholeheartedly. I mean, even if you're a skeptic and you don't think, you think that we're nuts and there was no conspiracy, like Jack, whatever his name is, Lamboris, watch that documentary, because it is powerful, very, very powerful. And it's wonderfully done. And those doctors, I don't know if they're all still around, Sean. If they're all,
I think some of them died, Billy. I'm not sure. I know some of them died, but the important thing is, Billy, is this isn't researchers saying this. This isn't people that looked in and investigated and stuff. These are the doctors that were there.
Yeah.
The doctors that had the first view of JFK after he was shot. They're telling you that the shot came from the front.
Right.
And it blew the back of his head out. And then the other shot in the throat was probably a front shot as well. So they're telling you there was more than one gunman, and there were shots from the front and the back. And these are the doctors that were there on the scene, Billy. So that's powerful evidence.
And it's not like, okay, this was 60 years ago. Their memory's probably hazy. They may not remember everything right. You don't forget that. You don't forget, especially when you talk about it, and and it's the same story from different people. Right. That's something that you just don't forget about. So
they're all consistent with the story, Bill. The back of the head was blown out, and then that's consistent with a front shot.
And that they also gave you a really good insight into what was happening with the autopsy that happened in
Bethesda.
Bethesda, yeah. I mean, you go out of your mind listening to
Well, you understand that the military was running the autopsy. Admiral Galloway,
right,
from the Navy, was running it. Curtis LeMay was most likely there. There was a lot of admirals there, and the military was running, and they didn't want certain things done at the autopsy. I mean, they didn't dissect the wounds, for crying out loud.
Yep.
So, it's a powerful documentary, though. I recommend it to everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there you go, Giordano. Absolutely recommend. We loved it. All right. Moving on to Dobson in Miami. And I don't think we have to guess to know who Dobson for. He's saying, Sean, why don't you admit you were wrong on your prediction about Notre Dame?
Well, what exactly was I wrong on, Dobson? I think actually what I said, I was spot on. If you listen to what I said on the previous, I forget, Billy, was that on the NIL episode we did? I forget when I talked about Notre Dame, but
it might have been. I don't know. We've talked a few times about Notre Dame.
What I said was Notre Dame under Marcus Freeman has raised the talent level. There's no doubt about that. Notre Dame has closed the gap talent-wise. I said the question coming into this season, and you could go back and listen to it, was can Marcus Freeman, 36-year-old first-time head coach, can he coach at an elite level? And clearly he's not there yet because he made a lot of coaching mistakes. But they didn't lose one game this year, Billy, because of talent. because of a lack of talent. And that includes the most talented team they played, Ohio State.
Yeah.
Because anybody that watched that game, Notre Dame was more talented at every single position, or at least equal at every position except for wide receiver. Ohio State's got the best receivers in the country. I'm not going to deny that. But everywhere else, Notre Dame looked like the better team. But the problem was the last 3 minutes, they turned into the Red Sox before Big Papi. I mean, every bad thing that could have went wrong. 10 men on the field, dropped interception, a screen pass that was right there that would have been a winning touchdown, and Hartman didn't get the ball high enough. I mean, so many mistakes in the last. I mean, it was like a million different Bill Buckner plays in the last 3 minutes, and all they had to do, Bill, they had the ball with under 3 minutes. One Odrick estimate 3 times and the game's over. Yep. That's all they had to do. Yep. And I still believe that to this day. So, and then as far as, the other losses they had, they didn't lose because of talent. They Marcus Freeman, a young coach, he hasn't figured it out yet. He hasn't figured it out, but I think he's still on pace to do what necessary to get them to the national title. And I believe that, Billy. I mean, they lost games. I mean, they had a gauntlet schedule, those four night games in a row against ranked teams. They didn't play as well on the road as they did at home. They were like 2 different teams. Freeman's got to figure that out. Yeah. What I like about him, Billy, is, last year the problem was they lost the teams they shouldn't have, like Marshall and Stanford and these other, garbage teams. And he figured it out. He beat the teams he was supposed to beat this year. As far as he didn't lose to anybody like Marshall or Stanford. He pounded those teams, as a matter of fact, because in their 9 wins, I think they averaged like 47-7 was the average margin of victory. So, wow. Yeah. So, I mean, in the talent he's bringing in, Billy, he's done with Brian. If Brian Kelly was still here, Notre Dame probably would win 10, 11 games. Yeah. But the problem is Brian Kelly was never going to get Notre Dame to close the gap with Alabama and Georgia. Right. Win the national title. You were stuck in that rut. And the thing is, sometimes you got to go backwards, Billy, a little bit to get up that hill. And Freeman I'm telling you, Billy, the recruits he's bringing in, just look at what he's doing at quarterback. I mean, Brian Kelly and Tommy Rees recruited quarterbacks that were in the mold of Tommy Rees. Small guys, gutsy guys, but they're not guys that's going to beat Alabama or Georgia or Ohio State. Yeah. Freeman comes in, he gets Hartman. Now he's got the kid from Duke coming in. But he's also recruited this kid, Kenny Minchie, out of Tennessee, CJ Carr, coming in next year is the most polished receiver I've ever seen coming out of high school, Billy. And then he goes down to Mississippi and gets a kid, Deuce Knight, in 2025, that if Brian Kelly was still here, that kid's going to Alabama. Brian Kelly wouldn't even recruit him. Yeah. And he's the type of Lamar Jackson type difference maker that Notre Dame needs. And Freeman is up to talent level. Now, going into next year, the question, Billy, can he figure out the coaching part? Because he's still a pup. His staff is still very young. And he's got to figure out, he made a lot of bonehead in-game decisions. Yeah. And can he learn from those? Can he learn from those? Can he learn from those? But, what did I say that was incorrect, Dobson? That's what I want to know. What was I wrong about? I think I called it spot on. I never said that they were going to go undefeated. I said it depends on Marcus Freeman. Right. But talent level, I mean, and the other problem, Billy, and you know this, Billy, because Notre Dame fans are the same as Yankee fans and Cowboy fans. You got too much of these hat wearers, Billy, that they don't, I mean, it drives me crazy, but I have a tough time talking to Notre Dame fan base. I really do, because they're driving me crazy with these comments. I'm getting questions like, the transfer portal blowing up, Billy. The problem is that, Notre Dame fans are losing their mind because kids are transferring out. But here's the thing, Billy. The COVID year, the NCAA and all their brilliance gave everybody an extra year of eligibility in 2020 because of COVID. Right. But what they did, because they're stupid, they only upped the maximum scholarship, 85. They only upped that for like 2 years. So now you have kids that are going into, they have 5th-year eligibility, 6th-year eligibility because of COVID. I mean, Notre Dame had like 115 kids that could have came back for next year, for 2024. Yeah. You could only have 85. And Notre Dame wants to bring in 5-6 transfers themselves. So that means you got to get that number down to about 79, Billy.
Right.
That means you need like 40 kids to transfer. And guys are losing their mind. Notre Dame fans have spent too much time watching the NFL and don't understand college football. This is the world we live in now. They're losing their mind because kids are transferring, kids that never played. And then they're also losing their mind because we have some kids that could have came back for fifth, sixth year that were starters that are leaving. But what you don't understand, Billy, is Freeman is up the roster. The most talented people, the kids on the team, are the freshman class, the sophomore class, and the incoming freshman class. So if you take a kid, like let's just give you an example, Billy. Zeke Correll's a senior. He could have came back for a sixth year. He's been a 2-year starter. The problem is the kids behind him that are freshmen and sophomores coming up are better athletes. They're better. They're future All-Americans. Where Zeke Correll is limited, as good as he is, he's limited athletically. So you have to have a tough conversation with that kid. And you have to say, look, Zeke, we love you. But, you know, if you come back next year for 6th year, we can't promise you a starting spot. And Freeman has always said, if a kid has his Notre Dame degree and he has 5th year or 6th year eligibility and he wants to go play somewhere else, he's going to support him because he knows he's got that degree. So Zeke Correll transfers to North Carolina State, where he's going to start next year. He's going to have a good year down there, most likely, and then he could go on to the pros. But if he came back to Notre Dame for 6th year, even though he's been a 2-year starter, Bill, he's not guaranteed that starting job because Freeman has upped the athleticism on this team. You understand what I'm saying? So we need to have these conversations and push some of these older kids out. It's just the world we live in college football, created by the stupid NCAA.
Yeah.
You know, that's just the world we live in, Billy. But Notre Dame fans, I mean, sometimes it's tough listening to them, Billy. It really is. And you know that with the Yankees, it's the same thing.
Oh, yeah, for sure. All right, let's move on. All right, this is our buddy, the American. I need to come up with a theme song, I think, for the American, like a little theme intro for American Patriot. He clearly took time away from splitting the atom to write this. He must have been late for his Mensa meeting because he was writing to us here. All right. American Patriot writes, I think, this podcast is worse every week. Sean loves the mob criminals, probably has a framed picture of Carlos Marino in his house. Who's Carlos Marino?
I don't know, Billy. We'll get to that. Go ahead.
Bill is a libtard traitor. Oswald was a left-wing pinko communist who hated the USA, so he killed the president to prove a point. Lenin hated his own country, so not surprised someone took him out. And Vietnam was a war we had to win, and we did. God bless the old US of A. Well, God bless you, American Patriot, because you need it.
Well, Billy, the one thing I got to say about the Patriot is he's the model of consistency, buddy, because once again, every single thing he said in that statement is wrong. Everything.
So John Lennon hated England?
I think he thinks John Lennon was born in America, Billy.
Oh, well, he obviously has no idea who John Lennon is.
And he lived in New York, so he didn't hate America.
Right.
But, I mean, let's take this apart, Billy. Okay, the podcast gets worse every week, but he listens every week.
Right. Well, the monkey and the pellet, Sean. The pellet comes out. The monkey just takes the pellet. I think that's,
And then, no, I don't love mob criminals, and I don't have a picture of Carlos Marino in my house because I don't know who the hell Carlos Marino is. I mean, does he mean Carlos Marcello?
Who knows?
I don't know who he means. Carlos Marino.
Maybe he's a cousin of Dan Marino or something.
I don't. Well, whatever. And then, he goes into calling you a libtard.
Yeah.
And then
that's what people call, when you don't know how to argue with somebody, you just call them a name. So.
Well, yeah. And then, Oswald, left-wing communist, which, I think we proved in our podcast, he was agent provocateur, double agent, and that was his assignment to infiltrate the communist organizations. And he didn't kill the president. We proved that. And then John Lennon, he didn't hate America, but he wasn't born in America. He was English,
right?
And then as far as, Vietnam was a war that we had to win. And then to say we did win it. I mean, really?
Yeah. First of all, yeah, it's not a war we had to win. It's not a war we even had to be a part of.
No. And we were on the wrong side of it.
Yeah. And we
lost it. So I don't know what he's talking about.
I don't know. He doesn't know. Believe me, he doesn't know what he's talking
Once
about.
Again, he's completely wrong in everything he said. Everything.
I think we've given him enough time.
Yeah, he got his 5 minutes, Billy.
All right. Jim Richmond. Love the podcast regarding the JFK assassination. I never really heard about RFK's thoughts. Heard what RFK's thoughts were on it. Did he ever talk about the farce that was the Warren Commission? Also, would love to hear episodes on Nikola Tesla and Thomas Edison. Yeah, that'd be
good.
Yeah. All right, Sean. What about RFK? Did he ever?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we touched on this a little bit. I mean, he publicly he kind of endorsed the Warren Commission. He just didn't really say much about it. But behind the scenes, and Jim DiEugenio did a great job in his books on this. He was really working, trying to figure out what happened. And, he believed, Robert Kennedy believed, though, that he couldn't do anything about it until he had the office of the presidency behind him. And once he had that behind him, then he could open up an investigation once he was president. Right. But the day, it took him not too long to figure out what exactly happened there, because he immediately called up the CIA. And I believe he was trying to get in touch with McComb. And I think he got one of his flunkies there or something. And he said, did your people kill my brother? Asked him straight out. Mm. And then, he went to contacts in the Cuban exile community, the anti-Castro Cubans, and asked them, did you have anything to do with this? And then he was trying to find out if Ruby had any mob connections, if they put any pressure on him. So right away, Bobby Kennedy was figuring out the Cubans might have been the triggermen, the CIA might have been the planners, and the mob may have been used to put pressure on Ruby to take out Oswald. And Bobby Kennedy figured this out in a very short time. So he knew that, but he knew he couldn't do anything about it until he was president.
Right. And we know that was never going to be allowed to happen.
And that was one of the reasons why they wouldn't let him be president.
Sure.
That, and he was going to stop Vietnam, and he probably would have been more progressive than his brother. He would have been more radical than JFK, I believe. Yeah. And a lot of stuff he was doing, especially civil rights. And I mean,
oh, for sure.
Because we know he was JFK's right-hand man in just about every area.
Yep.
He was like his national security advisor, his civil rights advisor. I mean, his domestic advisor. I mean, he was JFK's only trusted guy that he could really go to.
Right. And I think he was the only one who had the same. He was the only one on the same level as JFK, with regard.
Right. And it had the same ideas and the same thought process, and believed the same thing that JFK did. Yeah, I agree.
Yep. All right. Well, great question, Jim. I don't know if it's Jim from Richmond or Jim.
No, that's Jim Richmond. He's a longtime listener, buddy. He was with us from the beginning.
Thank you, Jim. We appreciate you. We love.
And he's also a Patreon, Billy.
Oh, wow.
Jim is a Patreon. Yeah, he's our newest Patreon.
Well, we really appreciate you. So thank you, Jim. Thank you. All right. This next one comes from The Latest Flame. Okay. He says, or she, DiEugenio, that's Jim DiEugenio, Fox News, proves he is one of the best historians in the country. I mean, there are 2 or 3 who are equal or close to his level, but that's it. I would love to see every high school and college student in the U.S. read his books as a requirement. Also, incredible interview with Monica Wisak gets to the heart of who JFK was. It's important because he was killed due to his actions, which were an effort to achieve a lasting peace, enrich people's lives around the globe, and end colonialism and imperialism. Yeah, absolutely.
And Bill, I love your Fox News quote there, because Jim, for people that don't know, Jim was on Fox News, and I believe they called him John D'Angelo or something. They didn't get his name right.
They couldn't, and the guy tried like 5 times to get his name right. He called him John DiMaggio or something.
I thought it was D'Angelo, but maybe I don't know. At least he got him Italian name, though. At least he kept it Italian. But I mean, Jim is the best. I mean, I agree. His book should be college and high school curriculum. It should be every student should have to read it should be part of the curriculum.
Absolutely.
Totally agree. And as far as Monica, we have her rescheduled to come back.
Can't
She was
wait.
fantastic, fantastic.
Yeah.
And that was one of her highest rated episodes, Billy.
And with good reason. She was fantastic.
She was great.
Yeah. All right. So thank you, the latest flame. All right. Next is Austin in Sweden. Bill and Sean, what has been the most rewarding part of doing this podcast? It's great question. Oh, Sean, you go first.
Well, for me, Billy, I mean, there's a couple things. Number one, I think the network that we created with these authors, and the friends that we made, like Lisa Pease has become a great friend. Jim Diogenio, Professor Blow, and then other people that we met, listeners like Scott Alfieri, and so many people that reach out to me almost on a daily basis, or at least a weekly basis, Bill, on social media. So that's number one, the great network we created with the authors and the great friendships that we made, people we didn't know before this podcast that we now consider friends.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. And I think, the other thing I think that I'm proud of is the truth that we're getting out, not just about the JFK assassination, the other assassinations of the 60s, but I think, what we're doing to, stop the character assassination of JFK and RFK and Marilyn Monroe, and, to have Don McGovern on, another person who's become a good friend, and, just destroy all these myths that have been accepted as fact about Marilyn Monroe and the Kennedys and the old man Kennedy and the mob and all this nonsense. And, he talks about that guy Heyman. It was so bad that this guy would, and Jim talked about this too, collect obituaries of people in Kennedy's and Marilyn Monroe's circle to make sure that they were dead, and then make up a phony interview with them. Right. I mean, how bad is that, Billy?
That's insane. Yeah. No, I agree with the shot. I don't think we're ever going to stop the garbage from coming out, but I think
there's too much money to be made, Billy.
Right. For people who are interested in hearing the truth, I think that's kind of the void that we fill with this show.
Yeah.
And, people are looking for that. They're looking for stuff that's not sensationalized, and if that's what you're looking for, you're in the right place, because that's what we're going to give you. We're just going to give you the facts, the truth, and all of the other bullshit's going to, stay with.
Well, what's your answer to this, Billy?
It's very close, Sean. I think I'm very proud of building this up. I didn't know what to expect when we started. I thought, maybe we'd get a few listeners. I think I said this on what's his name, Bruce's show the other day. When we did that, I said I would have been happy with a few friends and family listening to us, and we built a decent audience.
What's impressive, Billy, is the consistency. Like we created like a floor, like the ceiling. We still have a ceiling and a way to go.
Sure,
but the floor that we created is consistent, because even on our lowest rated episodes, there's a floor that it doesn't go below that.
Yeah.
Which is pretty good. And it's been consistent. So we know that, our listeners, they listen on a weekly basis.
Right. And I think the fact that these listeners, these people are taking time out of their very busy lives,
right,
to write in and ask us questions and give us comments. To me, that's the whole reason we're doing it. I mean, that's
and Bill, I'm trying to keep up on social media, but sometimes, I get behind because I get so many questions and so much feedback.
Yeah.
And I love it. Believe me, keep it coming. I love it. I try to get to every single question, even the whack job questions, Billy. I try to answer them, but then it gets to a point where, if the guy's just trolling, I'm not gonna mess around with trolls. I don't have time for that. But otherwise, I try to answer every question and every message, and it's just been fantastic, Billy, the feedback that we get.
Yeah, really is. So thank you, Austin. All the way in Sweden. So we appreciate that.
And that's another thing, Billy. So many different countries that, when you go on Buzzsprout, you see the breakdown of Ireland, Poland, Italy, Australia, Sweden. I mean, we're all over the place, buddy.
Home country.
New Zealand, buddy. New Zealand likes us.
Yeah. No, Sweden is the home country of Henrik Lundqvist. So you're good in my book, Austin. All right. Thank you. All right. Next is Mr. Duncan. This way, here we go. Mr. Duncan in Auckland, New Zealand.
Yep.
Sean, you always seem to ignore or brush off mob involvement in the JFK assassination and focus on the CIA and the government. The evidence against the mob is overwhelming. What about Rosselli and Trafficante? Reports had Rosselli shooting JFK from a storm drain. Who were John?
Mr. Duncan. Okay, the evidence is not overwhelming against the mob. The evidence against the mob is all hearsay and from unreliable sources, and there's no evidence that they masterminded. As far as Rosselli shooting from a storm drain, I mean, we now know, Billy, from FBI wiretaps that Johnny Rosselli was not in Dallas when JFK was assassinated. He wasn't in a storm drain. He was in a hotel in Las Vegas with a prostitute, and he got a phone call shortly after JFK was shot, letting him know what happened. But there's no evidence on that call that he was masterminding. And you got to remember something, Bill. And I said this with Lisa Peace when we had her on. Rosselli and Trafficante were CIA assets, and we have to stop looking at them as strictly just mafioso, especially Rosselli.
Right.
They were CIA assets. So any involvement by those two is the CIA being subservient, the mob being subservient to the CIA, not the mob masterminding or running anything. So did the CIA go to the mob to put pressure on Jack Ruby to take out Oswald? Possibly. There is some evidence that that's possible. I also talked to Jim when we had him on that there was other ways, like Gordon McClendon, that the CIA could have went to him to get to Ruby. So there was other ways that they could have used besides the mob. But, if they did use the mob, that's not the mob masterminding anything. And did they use the mob after to take out some witnesses? Possibly. But again, that's the mob being subservient to the CIA. It's not the mob running things. And people can't distinguish between those two things, Billy. And no matter what we say, no matter what we show, they just want to believe that the mob was involved. I don't get it.
Well, like we said, we're not gonna change everybody's mind.
Again, Billy, the thing is, Cosa Nostra, the structure of Cosa Nostra, that would have to be approved at the level of the commission.
Yeah.
And there's no evidence of that. There's no evidence. Trafficante couldn't do that on his own.
Right. If you can, if you can show us where the evidence is, it's overwhelming. All right, show us some evidence. It's like like what I said. The first time we were on Bruce's show, and he asked us about the election, the 2020 election, and how that was stolen, and he asked us what we thought, and I said, show me the evidence where it was stolen, and we'll talk about it. But there is no evidence, and I think
and the other thing, Billy, is I think there's evidence that the CIA was involved in Giancana and Rosselli's murder,
right?
Because they wanted to shut them up because they were talking to the church committee about the Castro assassination attempts. So I think those were CIA interrogations in Rosselli's case, and the CIA, at least the CIA sanctioned hit on Giancana. There's actually some evidence now that somebody said that Tony Accardo may have pulled the trigger on Giancana. And that actually makes sense to me, Billy, because Accardo is so smart, Billy, that Accardo would be the type of guy that would, if he did it, he knows he's the only witness. Nobody else would know about it. And he wouldn't tell anybody. And the thing is, Giancana would let him in to his house because Accardo was his boss.
Right.
So, and the other thing is, whoever it was Giancana let in there, he trusted. And the other thing, Giancana, and this is what I believe it was an informant that's in witness protection now that said this, that was in the outfit. And he said that Giancana was cooking sausages. Okay. If it was an underling of Giancana, they would be cooking for him. But if it was Tony Accardo, Giancana would be cooking for Tony Accardo. Yeah. So that was one thing where, and if the way that what I know about Tony Accardo, that's classic Tony Accardo. So it's possible that he took Giancana out himself. Yeah. But I also want to look down an angle that I think the CIA had reason to take him out, and they might have as well.
All right. So thank you, Mr. Duncan, for that. All right. Next. Oh, this one a little bit
yeah, this is gonna
Ryan McGreevy from Belfast, Northern Ireland. Sean, are you and Bill gonna ever do an episode on Israel Palestine and address the genocide Israel is doing in Gaza? The short answer, no. At least not in the near future. It's just not a topic that we're going to touch right now.
Well, we do have a guest on, Bill. We're going to have someone from the UNESCO chair that's going to talk about empathy and specifically Northern Ireland coming up. But they're going to touch a little bit on Israel Palestine, so that'll be coming up. But to me, let's go to Britain and solve this, because Britain's the one that caused it. Because you had, before it was Israel, you had Jews and you had Arab, Christian, and Muslims living there peacefully till Britain tried to colonize it with their bullshit that they always do, like they did in Northern Ireland. So I would go to Great Britain and say, here, solve this peacefully, solve it. You guys caused it, just like you caused it in Northern Ireland. You caused all the problems in Africa. Solve it. That's what I would do. But, America's never going to do that.
Right.
But it's a bad situation over there, Billy. And I think about, JFK's Middle East policy, how different it would have been in maybe if that policy, if JFK wasn't assassinated and those policies went through, maybe things would have been different. Because it's a mess over there right now. And I know Lisa Pease is talking about it. She's always on Twitter talking about it really daily.
Right. And she'd be upset, by my answer that we're not going to be talking about it. I'm not prepared to talk about it. And I don't think you are either.
Well, if we do Billy, it's a big show. It's a big show.
Yeah.
We might be on different ends of this one, Billy. We might be on different sides on this, but
I don't have a side, Sean.
Well, I don't either. To be honest with you, I'm on the side of peace, Billy.
Right.
That's what side I'm on. But
yeah,
I think though some of my takes on this though, Billy, might not be the same as yours though.
Oh, that's okay.
That's what without getting into it, if we ever do a show on it, we'll give our thoughts on that, but it'll be a big one if we do. But like I said, we are going to touch on it a little bit, Billy, but it's mainly the focus is going to be Northern Ireland when we have our guest Mark Brennan coming on in a few weeks.
Okay. All right. Well, Ryan McGreevy from Belfast, thank you for the question. All right. Next one comes from MR Light at the end of the tunnel
I think that's Mr. Light, Billy.
Oh, Mr. Light. Okay.
Yeah.
You have it written here, Sean. It says MR Light, but all right. Mr. Light at the end of the tunnel from San Francisco. Just hope that light's not an oncoming train. All right. Bill and Sean, with the recent death of Henry Kissinger, what is your opinion of the man and why does the media give him such a glowing exit? I'll let you handle this one, Sean.
My God, I can't figure out why the media thinks this guy is some kind of great national security expert or foreign policy expert. I mean, the genocide that this guy caused and the millions of people that were killed because of his policies is unbelievable. I mean, he could have been, convicted of war crimes, in my opinion, for stuff he did in Laos and Cambodia. And Jim Diagino has a great article on his Substack, Billy. Jim has a Substack now. And he just put up an article on Henry Kissinger. He's got some great articles on there. So I recommend everybody check it out. But he had a great article on Henry Kissinger and just all the genocides that he caused out through the world in the policies. And remember, he was advising Kennedy during the Berlin Wall crisis, and Kennedy kind of basically threw him out because he was trying to escalate that crisis. And the thing is, he's hawkish on war, and he just, like I said, Laos, Cambodia. I mean, you could just go on and on. Vietnam. I mean, the genocide that this guy caused. I mean, and the media just makes him out to be a great hero. And what I don't understand, Billy, is like Democrats, liberal Democrats, like Hillary Clinton and others, have a friendship with him. They had a friendship with him, and I don't understand that. Like, I just never understood that. Like, he's so far to the right, Billy, and it just, I don't know. I just don't get it. He's so hawkish on war, and his policies are so divisive. I mean, I just never understood why Democrats and even like Jimmy Carter would take advice from him, and I just never understood that, Billy. I never understood that. And even moderate Republicans, I don't understand why like moderate Republicans would listen to this guy, because I mean, his policies were awful. Yeah. And I don't know how anybody could defend them. I really don't. Just count the millions of the dead, Billy. Just count the millions.
Exactly. Yeah, I have the same thoughts as you, Sean. I don't get it. All right. Thank you, Mr. Light at the end of the tunnel from San Francisco. All right. Black belt in North Carolina. Oh, this is a good one. Hello, fellas. Do you think the Travis Kelce Taylor Swift love affair is a made-up drama created for TV? Black
Billy,
belt. If that helps, if that gets you through the night, then
let me ask you this though, Billy. Why would Black Belt think that, we would know that? Like, we would have an answer to that. Like, why would he think that he listened to any of our podcasts? Like,
it's got the fingerprints of intelligence all over it, Sean.
I mean, Billy, we're talking about the Kennedy assassination, the mafia, and why does he think we would know the answer to that question? I don't know. It's amazing. But the one thing I want to say, Billy, is I personally, I couldn't even, like, if you played a Taylor Swift song right now, I wouldn't even recognize it, Billy.
Really?
I don't listen to, I don't, me. I don't like that.
I have a 15-year-old daughter.
You do. That's true.
I do love Taylor Swift music.
Well, that's fine. I don't even know her music, Billy.
I say that the 20-year-old me would beat the living crap out of the 51-year-old me, because there's a lot of music I like now that I used to make fun of in my 20s. But
get that, Billy. I'm just saying, personally though, this is what I want to say. This is the point I'm trying to make is I don't know her music. I don't know it. Just not the kind of music though. I know, like, that pop song. That's not what I listen to. I'm stuck in the 70s and 80s, Billy. You know that. but what I want to say is that I don't understand the hate directed at Taylor Swift. I just don't get it, because she seems like a good person. She's, no matter what you think of her music,
right?
I mean, she gives so much to charity. She's really gracious to her fans. I mean, she seems like a really good person. I mean, I understand why NFL fans would be upset that they're showing so much attention, but be upset at ESPN, be upset at ABC, like I was when they had A-Rod and bringing J-Lo and singing happy birthday to him in the middle of a Red Sox Yankee game. Be upset at the network, not at J-Lo.
And listen, I mean, the NFL doesn't need more publicity. The NFL prints money. They print money. They have I mean, an NFL game with the two worst teams will beat in the ratings anything else on television. So, the fact that they're making it up for TV, come on, give me a break.
And Bill, another thing, I'm going to say something here that's probably going to aggravate some people, but I don't care, because it's really frustrating to me. Is I don't understand, the hate directed at Taylor Swift coming from the religious right wing. Like, what's the matter with those people? I'm so sick of hearing those people, like, they're giving a charity. I mean, she's giving a charity. What the hell are they doing except hating everybody that's not a white Protestant born in the South?
Right.
It's basically what they do. And any Catholic that goes with the religious right wing, I don't understand. You got to have your head checked, because those people hate you. Okay. And I'm talking about the extreme religious right.
Yeah.
And they're the ones that are attacking Taylor Swift and attacking her. And I just don't get it. I mean, why? Because she helps people?
Yep.
I mean, isn't that religion? Isn't that what you should be doing if you're really religious?
Nope.
Helping other people? I guess not.
Apparently not. No, what you're just doing is criticizing and hating anybody.
That's all they do, Billy. They just hate everybody that's not them.
That's right.
If you're not a white Protestant and you're not born in the South, they don't like you.
And you're not straight. And
if you think you're part of their club, it's kind of funny, because guess what? If you're a Catholic born in the Northeast, you're not part of that club, pal.
Right.
So don't pretend you are.
Right.
Don't pretend you are.
And by the way, these are they're kids, Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift, right? I mean, compared to us,
they're pups. They're in their 30s, Billy. They're like Marcus Freeman, buddy.
They're in love. Give
them go. Who cares?
My God, let them have their fun. Travis Kelce, by the way, one of the funniest skits I've ever seen on Saturday Night Live. I don't know if you saw this one, Sean.
No, I don't watch much of it, to be honest with you, Billy. But
he was in a skit called Straight Male Friend. So if you ever get a chance, look it up. It's really funny. He's basically this guy. I forget which. I don't know any of their names on Saturday Night Live anymore, but the one Asian guy, and he's gay, and he says, oh, I love nothing more than I love hanging with my girls. But sometimes I just want to, hang out with somebody who doesn't drive me crazy. That's why I found straight male friend. And so he's hanging out with Travis Kelce, who's like, playing video games and eating wings and stuff. It's like, we don't have to talk to each other. There's no drama. He doesn't even know my name.
Yeah.
It was really funny. If you ever get,
Bill, it's just ridiculous though. Like, the hate that's directed at those two is just like, people, if that's your main issue with life, if that's what you're aggravated about, with all the problems going on in the world, and all the nonsense that goes on a daily basis, and the people just disrespecting each other and every day. You see that, and this is what bothers you. Two people that are generous to charity. Their parents seem like good people, both sides.
Yeah.
I mean, I just don't understand what the problem is. The hate, it's almost like the United States has become bizarro world, Billy.
It is. It is.
Because it seems if you're a good person and you help other people, you're going to be hated. But if you're a scumbag who just, hates everybody, and, you're all right.
Yep. You get elected president. I just say that.
That's not where I was going, but you said it. But
all right,
I'm just saying in general, Billy. In general, it just seems like if you try to help people, you're gonna get criticism, and I don't understand that, because I've always tried to help other people.
All right, let's move on. The next one's gonna be a good one. But anyway, thank you, Black Belt in North Carolina. All right, Jeff in Canada, way up in Canada. There you go, Billy. All right, Jeff asks. Bill, he didn't ask. He's just saying, Bill, we need more hockey episodes. I agree with you. I want to do more hockey, but I think, Jeff, you and I would be the only one to listen to it. So
you can bring Hopkins on. Hopkins will talk to you about hockey.
Yeah, right. All right, guys, my wife and I heard you on TNT radio. Great job. But Sean, your theory on Whitey Bulger not being an informant is way off base. He gave up the mob induction ceremony in Massachusetts. The FBI bugged it due to information given to them by Whitey.
Yeah, that's incorrect. Whitey Bulger did not give up and what he's referring to, Billy, is I'm sure you saw the video, because they played it on the air. It was Medford, Massachusetts, where the Patriarca family was initiating members of the Mafia, and the FBI had it bugged. They had the place bugged. They had the whole initiation ceremony on audio, and the information was given to them by a made guy in the Patriarca family. His nickname was the Saint, but his last name is escaping me. I can't. Loria, maybe his last name. I can't think of his last name, but his nickname was the Saint. But he was an FBI informant, and he gave that information up, not Whitey Bulger. Why would you think Whitey Bulger would know where the Italian Mafia is initiating members? I mean, Whitey wouldn't have access to that information. They're not stupid enough to give it to him. So he didn't give up that. And again, but we're going to do an episode on this, and I'm going to put my theory out there, and I'm going to show you, because I went through a lot of the FBI reports, just basically everything they had that they released on Whitey, and there's nothing. He gave nothing, Billy. He gave hearsay, gossip, nothing that would ever get anybody convicted, but yet they protected the guy for 30 years.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that. And it's not like, he did give them some money, like the agents like Conley and stuff, but it was like 1,000 here, 1,000 there. It wasn't like he was giving them hundreds of thousands and stuff. So there was another motive to protecting this guy. And I think it was because he was their creative mob boss, and he was doing things like hits. We're going to talk about specifically, some of the hits he did, and Whitey Bulger had ties to the IRA. So he had ties internationally. He had ties to Canada, specifically to the West End gang, which is like the Irish mob in Canada. And he had a lot of connections internationally that the government would be useful to the government. So, we're going to talk about that in an episode, but that's absolutely not true that Whitey Bulger gave up that initiation. He did not. That was the Saint.
All right. Sounds good. All right. Well, thank you, Jeff. Jeff in Canada. We appreciate you listening. And
stick to hockey, Jeff. Stick to hockey, buddy.
Let's go Rangers. All right. Thank you, Jeff. All right. The last one we're going to do tonight, Sean, is someone from our own backyard here, Clayton from Scranton, Pennsylvania. Sean and Bill love the podcast. You guys Get a great group of powerhouse guests. Diogenio, Talbot, Blow, Otto, Morris, Whelan. What a lineup. One complaint I do have with the show is you need to do more standalone episodes, just you two with a good topic. Yeah, I agree. We're gonna do more of those.
I agree too, but who's Morris, Billy?
I don't know. Who could he mean?
I don't know. We didn't have anybody on named Morris.
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway,
maybe it's a different podcast he's thinking of. Guests are great, but mix it up a little. Yep, we will.
We got some topics coming up that's going to be standalone episodes. We're going to do one on Freddie Hampton. We do one on Whitey Bulger that I talked about. We're going to do one on the Billy D'Elia and the Pittston Mob. So we're going to have standalone episodes.
Operation Paperclip. I want to do that.
Bill wants to. Yeah, we're going to do that.
Yeah.
And there's some others, Billy.
Okay. All right. Good. And then, he says also sports really are not your strength. You guys seem unsure and lost when talking about sports. So I would stop that. Keep up the good work. Well, we're not going to stop talking about sports. In fact, Sean, I wanted to talk about the Ohtani contract.
Okay.
Because to me, I don't understand. I mean, I know how it's allowed. It's allowed under the CBA. And I don't care that they're paying the guy $700 million. You can pay guys whatever you want. That's none of my concern. I don't care what guys make. I know people are freaking out because this guy's making $700 million. You pay the guy $1 billion. Doesn't matter to me. If you think he's worth it.
We're going to see that someday, Billy.
Exactly. And if the team thinks he's worth it, he's worth it. It's not for me to say. It's not my money. What kills me about this contract is that the majority of it is going to be paid after the term of the contract is up. Right. So he's making $2 million a year for 10 years. And then the actual money gets paid out after the term of the contract is up. So 2034 to 2043 is when he gets the remainder, the $680 million. Kind
of like the Mets are still paying Bobby Bonilla $1 million every year.
That makes absolutely, I mean, what we have like right now in other sports that have salary cap is you have to pay your players within a certain percentage of the average annual value of the contract. So in other words, if the average annual value of this contract is $70 million, they're paying him $2 million a year. Now I know it counts at like 40 something million. I think it's like 43 million or something, but that still does not count against their, it doesn't count as it should against, pushing them towards the luxury tax. And it also doesn't hurt them financially where they, now they can go out and they can sign, the Japanese pitcher for $500 million if they wanted to. They could sign Soto next year for $500 million if they wanted to. That's what kills me. If they're going to pay a guy $700 million, pay him, but pay him during the 10-year deal. I don't know.
So I got a couple of thoughts on this, but before we do, what was the listener's name again?
Clayton.
So I take a little offense to him that says that we don't know about sports because listen, I said I'm not an NFL fan. I'm, different sports. I basically follow two sports, baseball and college football, but believe me, I know it, as much as I possibly could about either, especially like Notre Dame. I'm plugged in. I get premium intel. I pay for it that I get from people associated with the team. I talk to people on the beat. So I know a lot about Notre Dame football and college football in general. And baseball as well, Billy. And I know you do too, and your hockey. So take a little bit of offense to that. I mean, we don't know all sports. That's not our thing. We're more history, organized crime, stuff like that. But I did take a little offense to that, Billy. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I don't take offense to it. If he doesn't like the way we talk about sports, he doesn't have to listen to it.
Well, I don't care. All right. Well, anyway.
Listen, I've been watching sports for 40 years, right? 40. So I think I know what I'm talking about when it comes to sports. I don't know how old Clayton is. And Clayton doesn't sound like a guy who watches hockey. So Clayton, I'd be happy to school you anytime. But,
so there's two thoughts I have here, Billy.
All right, go for it.
One is, first of all, I don't understand how how this, like you mentioned, how this contract got through the unions, because if you go back to A-Rod, when A-Rod was going to go to the Red Sox, and that was basically a done deal. It was waiting on union approval.
Right.
And A-Rod was supposed to basically take a cut. I believe it was like per season, Billy. He was going to take a lower cut. And I think money was going to get deferred. And the union said he couldn't do that. And they nixed the deal. And the next thing you know, he goes on to the Yankees.
Right.
So the only reason A-Rod was not a Yankee or a Red Sox is because the union stopped that deal. So I don't know what happened,
Well, it's probably because the CBA is, it probably wasn't allowed within the rules of the agreement, the union and player agreement in the CBA. And now it is. There's a clause that says that there's no limit to the amount of money that you can defer to after the term of the contract.
Here's my second point then, and this is the problem.
Okay.
Is the small market teams cannot do that.
That's
the only teams that are going to be able to do that, Billy, are the Yankees, the Dodgers, the Red Sox,
right?
Maybe the Phillies, maybe the Mets, and after that, I don't know. Maybe Chicago Cubs. I don't know. So it's got to be a big market, but the small market teams are not. Tampa Bay can't do that. Pittsburgh can't do that. Kansas City can't do that.
No.
So how is this good for the game? You basically help 5 or 6 teams that spend a ton of money anyway.
And this is why I think this current CBA expires in 2026, I assume after the season. Sean, I'd be shocked if we saw baseball in 2027. I think they're going to shut it down. I think there's going to be a lockout. I think these small market owners are going to band together and say, enough of this. We're not taking this anymore.
And you know what's going to happen, Billy? They're going to lose more and more viewers, which they're already lost a ton.
Yeah, but the financial system right now in baseball is effed. It is totally effed. There is no chance that these small market teams could ever sign a free agent, a big.
No, and these baseball contracts, most of these are guaranteed money too.
Right.
It's not like football, I mean, they're guaranteed. And you're right. The small market teams, they can't do this. Kansas City can't do this.
Oh, Cincinnati,
like I said,
do this.
And I don't even know, Billy, outside of the Red Sox, Dodgers, Yankees. I mean, maybe the Phillies, but
and listen, this is coming from a Yankee fan. I'm a Yankee fan, and I'm saying that this is wrong.
And I won't even put the Red Sox in there because our ownership and our GM forgot how to spend money. I don't know if he forgot how to sign checks, but so I don't even know that they would do that now. So basically, it's the Yankees and Dodgers.
Right, and I'll tell you what: if the Yankees do something similar with Soto after this season, I'm gonna rail against it just as hard because I think it's bull. I think this is absolute bullshit. They should not be allowed to do this. There's no way that they should be allowed to defer 90%, 90 whatever percent of the contract until after the contract is up. That's insanity.
It is.
I don't care that Shohei Ohtani just wants to win and he's
but Billy, let's be honest though. He's making $2 million from the team, but how much is he making on endorsements, Billy?
Endorsements. He's making probably 5 times that.
Exactly. So it's not like, he's squeaking by a living on $2 million.
Plus the money he's gotten from the Angels and
right.
What? Yeah, we're not feeling. Nobody's putting up a GoFundMe for Shohei Ohtani.
No.
but which is exactly. I mean, this is a joke. It's a show. It's basically circumventing the CBA to be able to bring in more high price free agents that are going to make the Dodgers into a super team. And if that's how you want to win, well, that's fine. But and again, this is coming from a Yankee fan.
I hear you, Billy.
I hear you. I mean, come on, give me a break.
Listen, Red Sox bought their titles back in the day. They spent a ton of money to win 4 titles. I mean, there's no doubt about that. But I mean, this is not good for the game. This is not good for the game. Like
it's not.
You can't have this. We're just a couple teams could do this, and the other teams can't. I mean, It's not an even playing field.
Oh, absolutely. And I think I really do think these small market owners are going to band together and they're going to say, look, if it costs us a season or 2, we're getting a salary cap or something that resembles a salary cap because this system does not work. It just doesn't work. It's crazy.
It's ridiculous, Billy.
And again, I'm not even begrudging these players making this kind of money.
No, I mean, hey,
Make as much as you can. Like I said,
Sure.
if they can pay $1 billion, let them. But pay it during the term of the contract.
Yep. I agree with you, Billy. Totally agree with you. It's bad for the game.
And the Yankees are still saddled with this ridiculous Giancarlo Stanton contract that they have to pay. Believe me, if they could defer that to after that contract expires, they'd love to do that.
I just don't understand like how people think like it's an even playing field. Like how in the world do you think that Tampa Bay or Pittsburgh or something like that would be able to do this?
They can't.
I mean, they can't do this.
Nope.
So, I mean, and you're going to see more of this, Billy. You're going to see more of it.
Yeah. I mean, listen, the whole reason why A-Rod was traded was because Texas couldn't afford to pay anybody else.
Right. Exactly.
And they couldn't. You can't win with one good player on your team.
No.
So, and they couldn't afford to pay anybody else because they were paying that outrageous
deferring the money. It opens it up where you could bring in more players and
absolutely,
and you only have a couple teams that really could do this. And that's, it's just not an even playing field. It's just not.
All right. That's enough out of us. All right, Clayton, I hope you enjoyed that sports talk because
well, he'll come back and say we don't know what we're talking about, Billy. He's probably a Kansas City Royal fan. He says, we're gonna sign some big names.
Right. Well, we appreciate you listening, Clayton. We really do.
Yeah, we're
just busting a little bit. And let us know who Morris is, because I don't know who that is.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right, but thank you for listening. All right, Sean.
We covered a lot of ground, Billy.
We did. This was a good show. I had
a lot of good questions, buddy.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun. I mean, everything from Israel, Palestine to Taylor Swift and Jason Kelce.
An American Patriot, Billy, with his consistency, Billy, the model of consistency.
There you go.
Oh, he's incorrect 100% of the time.
He never lets us down.
And he listens every week, Billy.
And we love him. Like I said, I'll have to come up with some
sort of he needs a theme song, Billy.
He needs a theme song. Absolutely.
Maybe Real American, like Hogan used to come out to.
Maybe that's it's got to be something like that. Remember that what was that movie? World Police, right? It was the guys who did South Park. They had that.
I don't know. I don't know.
Team America, that's what it was. Team America, World Police. That would be something.
Maybe
like
the Rambo theme music, Billy.
There you go. All right, Sean, I had fun, man.
This was a good episode, Billy.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. All right, everybody, don't forget Patreon. Don't forget the website. You can email us.
Book club.
Be part of the book club. Ask us a question. That's enough out of you. Show at Gmail.
Store. Get a cup. Get a mug. Beer glass. Shirt.
All right, Sean, on social media. Yep, we're all over the place. We got all kinds of stuff going on. You can't get rid of us.
Keep that feedback coming in.
Absolutely, and we'll read your question or comment on our next time we do this.
Even if you don't agree with us.
That's what we love. That's what makes the world go round. That's what makes the show good. All right, Sean.
All right, Billy.
That's enough out of you.
Enough out of you.
That's Enough Out of You podcast is executive produced and written by Bill Rader and Sean Kane and edited by Bill Rader. The That's Enough Out of You podcast and logo are exclusive property of Bags of Chicken, LLC. Any rebroadcast, retransmission, or accounts of this podcast without the express written consent of Bags of Chicken, LLC is prohibited. So don't even try it.